Located on the balcony of that unit.
Critical new details now emerging from that massive blaze in North York last night, and 700 people have been forced out of their homes. Good evening, I'm Marivelle Tarouk. Crews battled that 5-alarm fire for hours last night on Gosford Boulevard near Jane and Steeles. Firefighters searched through the building and found one person dead on the 8th floor. As officials investigate the death, hundreds remain displaced, some staying at the nearby Driftwood Community Center. And that's where our Angelina King is tonight. Angelina, what more do we know about where that fire started?
So fire investigators not too long ago just told us that the fire started in unit 808 in the building, and that's the same unit where somebody was found dead on the balcony. Now, I spoke with some people who say that residents watched from the street in horror as somebody on a balcony was engulfed in flames. Now, Fire Chief Matthew Pegg says in a situation like this, the search for occupants starts immediately and doesn't end, but he says that crews just couldn't get inside that unit or one surrounding it at first because the flames and smoke were just so heavy. So about 700 people live in this building, all of them, again, spending the night elsewhere. Most people are staying with friends and family, but about 50 people are staying at a community center nearby that has been transformed into a shelter because those people have nowhere else to go. Jennifer Omori just wants to go home. She has 2 sons who are 5 months and 3 years old, making it even more difficult to stay at a temporary shelter. She didn't sleep last night, instead having to hold her baby.
I know they're trying their best, but it's just not enough for me that I have a little baby. Like, you know, the urgent shelter bed, my 5 months can't sleep on it. And it's not big enough to say, okay, maybe I could hold him and stay on it. So it's just really difficult.
She lives on the 7th floor and says most of her belongings are water damaged. Omori is one of about 50 people who slept at the community center last night. About 90 have registered with the Red Cross, and 700 people wondering when they can go back home.
It's a fluid situation, so we'll continue to assess the needs and meet them as they come up.
Is there a time like you expect to be here? Has anyone told you?
We don't have a specific timeline set up.
Omori saw the fire when it first started from outside the building.
I started screaming. People started asking what happened. Some people from their windows came out. I was like telling them, fire, fire.
Oh my God. We spoke with a woman who took this video. She says it shows someone engulfed in flames on a balcony, screaming for help. The fire department says it didn't receive any reports of that and says there were no reports of anyone missing during the fire. After a preliminary search, they thought everyone was out okay, but
there were some units that we could not gain access to. And so when we were able to achieve an upper hand on the fire, that allowed us to be a little bit more systemic in the work that we were doing. Some secondary searches were conducted and some investigations, at which point a body was located on one of the balconies.
Police are investigating the death as suspicious for now. Another person was sent to hospital in serious condition but will be okay. Crews were called around 5:30 last night, controlled the fire by 8 and deemed it officially out around 3 in the morning. At its peak, the fire was burning on 6 floors.
It was an extremely difficult fire for our staff to fight, and that was coupled with the fact that the elevators weren't working. So all of the work that was done here last night was up and down the staircases.
So we know that the fire started in a unit on the 8th floor, but investigators are still trying to find out exactly how that fire started. At this point, residents can be escorted in the building, but only to get very specific items, things like medication or special documents. The city says when it comes to things like clothes or other personal items, they'll have to get those from the Red Cross. Now, the city also says that it's going to be moving all the residents staying at the community center to York University Beds will be set up there in dorm rooms as well as a gym. Now, this is all very short term right now. The city says it is working on something more long term to accommodate these residents, because at this point, there is no word on when this building will be deemed safe for all of these 700 people to go back home. Maribel?
Lots of uncertainty ahead for these residents. Thank you for this, Angelina. A 42-year-old man is dead after a shooting on a sidewalk in the city's northwest end early this morning. It happened on Oakwood Avenue, south of Vaughan Road, just after 1:30 a.m. When officers arrived, they found Craig Campbell with very serious gunshot wounds. Paramedics rushed him to hospital, where he later died. Police say a dark-colored SUV was seen leaving the area. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. A group of well-wishers gathered today at a vigil in Scarborough to remember the toddler who was killed by a falling air conditioning unit earlier this week.
It's a very hard and difficult time, not for the family only, but for the entire community. The entire community is in shock.
Crystal Mirago was just 2.5 years old when she was struck by a heavy window-mounted air conditioning unit that had fallen from the 8th floor of a residential building on Monday afternoon. She was in a stroller being pushed by her mother at the time. She was rushed to hospital with critical injuries, and she died a day later. Her family has hired a lawyer to investigate the incident. Police say there are currently no pending charges. Let's take a first look at our forecast for this weekend. Daksha Rangan is back with us. It's nice to see you, Daksha.
It's good to see you too, Maribel. I'm sad to be the bearer of bad news when I'm talking about cold weather, but we did see some record lows for parts of southern Ontario this morning. And actually, it's not all bad news. It's a pretty nice Sunday ahead for many, on the frigid side for sure, but lots of sunshine, which I'm going to share with you in just a moment. But this evening, -4, feeling close to -11. The city of Toronto this time of year, daytime highs usually at around 7 degrees. So if you've been wondering, hey, it feels colder than usual, you're not wrong about that. Sunday morning, -4, feeling like -9. So once again, trending below seasonal, but sunshine, which is quite nice. And the good news is, as we head into the coming days, temperatures on that rebound just a bit. So by midweek, we are looking a little bit milder, just above the freezing mark, closer to about 4 degrees by Wednesday. But the not so good news with this is that we are talking about some unsettled conditions. As we head into Sunday night, that's when this is really going to start. Ahead of this cold front, we're talking about the potential for some freezing rain for parts of southwestern Ontario, and ahead of that, or after that rather, we'll be talking about some light snow, and I'll have more on that coming up next.
A new path. It will be the first broadcast of the post-Don Cherry era. There has been a lot of speculation over who will replace him and what the new format will look like. One thing's for sure, the first intermission will not look like this. Cherry hosted Coach's Corner for almost 4 decades. The majority of those years were alongside co-host Ron McLean. But there's going to be a change. Rogers says it will be experimenting with various formats over the next few weeks. Gaining employment can be hard enough, but for people with developmental disabilities, the challenge can be exponential, especially for youth. But the Holland Bloorview Kids Rehabilitation Hospital is taking on that challenge by helping kids get their job search started. The CBC's Kirthana Sasitharan has the story.
Quinton Williams will be looking for a job this summer, and he's already preparing.
I want to have like one of those very paying jobs, like a very paying job as one of those employees.
Quinton has Asperger's syndrome and a mild intellectual disability. He's part of the Employment Action Group, an initiative of Holland Bloorview Kids Rehabilitation Hospital. The group's goal is to help connect youth with disabilities to employment opportunities by teaching them skills like networking.
The support that they give us here for these kids to find a job, to feel their independence, to get them to move on into the working world is unbelievable.
Quinton isn't new to work environments. He currently volunteers at the YMCA.
It's like greet and meet people. I do is greet people at at the front desk. I actually know like new people. I see like ordinary faces there, and it is a pretty good there.
And in the past, he's volunteered at senior centers and at Holland Bloorview. Lisa says she's seen a difference in Quentin since he started taking on more responsibility.
He's able now to wake up, get ready for work, live an average life, feel responsible. He feels very responsible every single time he goes to the Y.
Carolyn McDougall is the employment lead of the Transition Strategy Program at Bloorview. She's watched Quentin's progression as he gains opportunities.
Some of the changes that we've seen are, just his confidence, his communication skills with people, his initiative, and doing things on his own.
She says starting youth out early in their job search is important to help them build those skills.
I think because really it's the sooner we start, the more experience we can get. We're looking for really to, through awareness building, like help young people and families see that, yes, it's possible.
For Quentin's mother, Lisa, she just hopes he gets the opportunity to move forward.
I'm looking forward to him going from the Employment Action Group, moving on to an employment opportunity, hopefully next year.
And as for Quentin himself?
It makes me feel proud of myself of actually like doing these sessions.
His ultimate goal is to one day be a pilot, but for now, he's ready to start with a summer job. Kirtana Sasidaran, CBC News, Toronto.
A White House official breaking ranks today to testify in the impeachment investigation into U.S. President Donald Trump. Democrats hoping a key question would be answered. Details after the break. U.S. congressional committees don't usually sit on Saturdays, but today the House impeachment investigators held a closed-door hearing with a senior official from the White House Budget Office. As Stephen D'Souza tells us, Democrats were hoping the witness would answer a key question.
The question at the heart of the impeachment inquiry: did Donald Trump withhold military funding from Ukraine to pressure them into investigating his political rivals? Investigators could learn more from this man, budget official Mark Sandy. He is the first from his office to defy a White House directive not to testify.
In the impeachment inquiry
this week, the country heard from diplomats concerned about the president's actions, though Republicans dismissed it as inconsequential.
I think, frankly, things are going well for the president. You know, they've had 3 hearings, 3 witnesses with no firsthand knowledge.
But behind closed doors, the testimony is getting closer and closer to the president's intent. On Friday, the committee heard from Foreign Officer David Holmes. He heard a call in which the president clearly asked about investigations into the Bidens and was told that Trump said, when it comes to Ukraine, that's all he cares about.
And there's a lot to be concerned about, particularly that more witnesses describe the president's obsession with investigating his political opponents.
The man on the phone with Trump was Gordon Sondland. The U.S. ambassador to the EU will testify in public Wednesday, deflating Democrats' hope the Republican argument about hearsay.
That's fixed with Gordon Sondland, who is not only a large Trump donor, but a close friend of the president and had unparalleled access to him as ambassador.
The Democrats say the White House is still blocking testimony from others who could provide first-hand information. While Mark Sandy is the first budget official to defy White House orders and testify, Democrats hope he's not the last.
Mr. Holmes came in, that was the most important thing, because so many others have not, and when people come in, we learn more.
The public impeachment hearings resume Tuesday, with 4 witnesses set to speak. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, New York.
Prince Andrew is speaking out for the first time about his relationship to late U.S. financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, and allegations that the prince had sex with an underage girl. The prince says he doesn't remember meeting her. CBC's Lorenda Redicott reports.
We try and uphold the highest standards.
For the first time, Prince Andrew is speaking out about his connections to Jeffrey Epstein.
I stayed with him, and that's the bit that, as it were, I kick myself for on a daily basis.
The third child of Queen Elizabeth has faced questions for months. The Duke of York spoke in a 30-minute interview with the BBC, held at Buckingham Palace, approved by the Queen. The coroner ruled Epstein died by suicide, found dead in his jail cell as he awaited trial on sex trafficking charges. The prince stayed with the U.S. financier in New York in 2010.
You were staying at the house of a convicted sex offender.
It was a convenient place to stay.
Then there's this photo from 2001. Prince Andrew with one of Epstein's accusers, Virginia Giuffre, at that time Virginia Roberts, just 17 years old. The American woman claims she was forced to have sex with him in 3 separate locations, London, New York, and on Epstein's private Caribbean island, while she was kept by Epstein as a sex slave.
I have no recollection of ever meeting this lady. None whatsoever.
He knows exactly what he's done, and I hope he comes clean about it.
These allegations are from a time after Andrew was already divorced from Sarah Ferguson. The two remain close friends. She posted on Twitter, "Andrew is a true and real gentleman."
I really don't know.
The BBC reporter asked Prince Andrew about allegations from a literary agent at one of Epstein's homes, who said he saw the prince receiving a foot massage from a young Russian woman.
Did that happen?
No.
You're absolutely sure, or you can't remember?
Absolutely sure.
He was also asked about the specific allegations from Virginia Giuffre, who names the London nightclub where they were, the date, them dancing, him sweating. Impossible, he said, due to a medical condition he had.
I didn't sweat at the time because I had suffered what I would describe as an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War when I was shot at.
He says he never had sex with her. If asked to testify, he says he'd take advice from his lawyers. Lorenda Redicott, CBC News, Toronto.
Today we will probably distribute more than 60,000 pairs of socks.
And all of those socks going to a good cause, as an organization is hoping to keep everyone on the streets warm and healthy. More on that after the break. It's one of the biggest prizes in contemporary Canadian art, the Sobey Art Award. The CBC's Yelena Adzik has more on this year's winner, one of Toronto's own.
When it comes to Canadian contemporary art, the prize doesn't get more prestigious or lucrative than this. $100,000 to the winner. And this year, the top honor goes to 39-year-old video and installation artist Stephanie Comelang.
My name is Stephanie Comelang. I'm a filmmaker, video artist, and installation artist.
Umaalis sila at mamigrate sila. Sila ay mga nagbabagong lugar.
Coming from immigrant parents, it's something that I think about a lot. How do you recreate a home if that place isn't your own?
Comelang won over the jury with her stylized documentary featuring both the lush countryside and the poverty found on the streets of her family's homeland in the Philippines. She said, winning the Sobey Art Award and representing a demographic that looks like me hopefully lets others know the limitless possibilities of who you can be as an artist. Kamalang won as a representative of Ontario, and she splits her time living and working in Toronto and Berlin. But the other regions of Canada are also recognized, since the other top artists on the shortlist each received $25,000, including Nicolas Grenier from the Quebec region. Grenier uses very specific color coding, such as with this mural he created last year with lashings of spray paint at Facebook's Connectivity Lab in Los Angeles. Kablusiak is an Inuvialuq artist and curator based in Calgary. This street poster reads, "I could have made so many dog drawings if I hadn't been preoccupied making art about mourning the loss of my culture." Then there's Anne Lowe from the West Coast and Yukon region. She uses sculpture to make social commentary. This work is called Chair for a Woman, and you'll notice there is no bottom of the chair present, hinting at a literal and figurative lack of support. Rounding out the short list of honorable mentions, Darcy Wilson from the Atlantic region. Her art examines a colonial relationship to the natural world and echoes a cry for help for Indigenous communities. Several of these works, along with more than 35 from the main Sobey Award winner, are on view at the Art Gallery of Alberta until January 5th of 2020. Plenty of time to get your fix of Canadian contemporary art. Yelena Adzik, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, the weather out there is getting pretty cold, and an event this morning was aimed at trying to keep everyone on the streets warm by giving out socks.
There are about 8,000 people in Toronto alone that the census says are homeless or living in shelters. We think it's probably far more than that. And what we're trying to do is make sure that they can get socks multiple times a year, and so they're not walking for 2 or 3 weeks wearing the same pair of socks.
Socks for Souls Canada hosted their 6th annual sock sorting event this morning. Around 150 volunteers gave their time to sort and package more than 60,000 pairs of socks, which will be given out to shelters and organizations around the GTA. And the weather, Daksha, always key around this time of year, just so that we know how to prepare. And it sounds like we're going to need to prepare this week.
Definitely, Maribel. I mean, this weekend, pretty gorgeous in terms of precipitation. We're looking at a really nice Sunday, lots of sunshine. You might have noticed, though, this morning it was really frigid. We are dealing with temperatures that are quite a bit below seasonal for this time of year. Sunday's no different from that. So the morning, -4, feeling like -9. If you are planning on attending the Santa Claus parade, warming up to just above freezing. Lots of sunshine, though, once again, which is certainly good news. By the evening hours, -1. And this is key. We're hovering just below freezing ahead of an advancing cold front. Now, the City of Toronto looks to be in the clear from any precipitation Sunday evening into the overnight hours, but as we head further in through southwestern Ontario, so areas to the west of Hamilton, London out toward Windsor, there is the chance there for some freezing rain, some mixing, as well as some light flurries. And you'll notice as we head into Monday morning, the potential extends further to the east, so we are talking about a lot more of the GTA potentially getting into a bit of that messy mix for your Monday morning commute. And I know no one likes that, especially in the morning, though, when you're leaving the house, it's cold and the snow is falling. Okay, this is the area that we're looking at for that freezing rain risk. So you'll notice largely concentrated south of Lake Huron. And again, the GTA looking to be in the clear from this, but it really isn't until the overnight hours that that risk spreads further east as that cold front moves in. And that's when that messy mix will potentially come into play. But generally, much of the day Monday, we're looking at relatively calm conditions. The unsettled weather will really set in for us Tuesday into Wednesday. You'll notice temperatures trending milder, but with that, the chance for some rain, freezing rain, and some flurries, and that's going to continue for us in through Friday.
Well, I think back to last Monday, and we had a ton of snow. So
that's a really good point.
Yeah, exactly. What you're showing me there, maybe not as bad.
I can agree with that fully.
Thanks a lot, Daksha.
You're welcome.
And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you for watching. We're going to leave you with some sights and sounds from Blue Mountain Ski Resort near Barrie. Obviously, an early start to the ski season, giving families a chance to hit those slopes. You can stay caught up on news anytime on our website, cbcnews.ca. Have a great night, everyone.